Good evening. Welcome back to the Bitcoin Zodiac. Happy new moon in Pisces. I hope that you are having an amazing new moon. We are kind of on the brink of a cosmic storm that is brewing for March. So are you guys ready? Because you need to brace yourself. March is bringing eclipse season, Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde, and also Neptune's historic shift into Aries. I mean, it's like the first time since like the 1800s or something. So this is like next level energy, and it's just not for the faint of heart, really. So March is kind of bringing us to this like deep energetic purge. So it's really time to clear out what no longer serves you. And I mean, I feel like I say that every week, but this is the year of the wood snake. Like, you're not getting out of this year without shedding some skin. Like, that's just the reality of the energetics of this year. And it is a deep energetic purge. So whatever, it's going no matter what. So it's up to you whether you surrender it or whether you cling on to it. So you're going to better align with the energy of the season if you come from a place of, I'm willing, take it from me. Whatever is not meant for me, take it from me, clear it out. And that will really sort of prepare you for what is coming. It's like time to, even in the physical, declutter your space, also organize your mind and energy, and, dive deeper into your spiritual practice. So really a time to stay aligned and very intentional, because it may sound a little hectic, but it's also a time to harness like next level manifestation power. So this energy is going to shake things up regardless. And so if you ignore the signs, what it's signaling you, it's going to really shape things up quite fast. So, get prepared, align your energy, and just sort of ride out this cosmic wave with like confidence and excitement, I think. So what does the new moon in Pisces have in store for us? So it really is a portal into the unknown. So it's really exciting. I mean, when you're looking at astrology, it feels like you are celebrating a new year for about 3 months. So we've got the regular new year on the 1st of January, we've got the lunar new year, and now we're coming into springtime. So we've got coming up later in March, we have the spring equinox moving into Aries season. And so Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, and then we will be moving into a fresh new cycle around the signs. So it's really the astrological new year, if you look at it that way. Interesting. And it's really a portal to the unknown. So the themes of this new moon are really about emotional and spiritual renewal. So a fresh start guided deeply by intuition. Surrendering and letting go, which usually is more about the full moon. But this is also because we're moving into this new cycle, this new season. You want to release attachments, you want to release control, you want to release old patterns and really let them go. Also, as I said, year of the snake, it's time to shed that old skin. You don't need it. Anything that you don't need is going to be stripped away from you this year. And that sounds terrifying, but it's okay. Like it's meant to be. It's meant to be in divine purpose. And interestingly enough, the energy is quite similar to 2020 energy, but in that sense, we were all going through it collectively, whereas this is much more of a sort of individual earthquake kind of moment. So it's going to happen throughout the year. I mean, already since January, we've had so many crazy things happen to people, and just a lot of upheaval and a lot of natural disasters and difficulties and lots of different things. So there's a lot of clearing going on. So we are also in this liminal space. So we are in that moment with this new moon between the ending and the beginning. So expect also heightened sensitivity, very deep intuition. Like it's a time that you can really trust your intuition. And I think it's a time also that you can't actually deny or ignore your intuition. It's very deep and very clear, very vivid dreams, and a lot of synchronicity you can expect as well this new moon. So it is a call to surrender, and Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, so it blurs the boundaries between the past, the present, and the future. And it dissolves illusions and encourages trust in the unseen. So those of us with Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, or Pisces placements may feel extra sensitive. I've already been feeling it in the lead up to this new moon. And so it is really a time to like get quiet, set your own intentions, and allow things to come up and allow yourself to be extra sensitive, allow space for that. So it's definitely a time to slow down, to reflect, and trust the unfolding path. So this new moon is a cosmic reset. I mean, every new moon, every 28 days, the sun and moon align in a new moon. It's a moment of stillness before the momentum of the cycle builds. So it's the dark phase of the moon, and it invites deep, deep reflection and intention setting. So as the moon gains light, clarity, and direction emerge, leading up into the full moon. So Pisces energy is incredibly fluid and mystical and intuitive, and it's really guiding us towards deep inner knowing. So lean into those themes this new moon as well. Also, we're getting ready for eclipse season. So we're entering that shadow period of the eclipses, and the eclipse portal is opening, and eclipses, they're really the gateway to transformation. So while this new moon is not an eclipse, it does initiate the cycle leading into the lunar eclipse in Virgo. So eclipses bring fated changes, rapid shifts, and sudden revelations. So expect the unexpected, new doors opening, old cycles closing, and realignments occurring. So it encourages a balance between spiritual surrender and grounded action. So the planetary aspects around this new moon are giving us some sort of cosmic currents to navigate for sure. And so we have the new moon square Jupiter in Gemini. And so the theme of this is really like seeking meaning amidst the chaos. So I really have felt that, like, we've had so much, like, from the LA fires, new inaugurations of presidents. We've had different like protests in Germany, protests in the UK, different things in France. Like, this just feels like there's a lot of tension on the earth. And of course, the ongoing crisis in the Middle East, in Gaza and Rafah also. And so there is just a lot of chaos, a lot of tension, and a lot of chaos. So Jupiter expands everything that it touches. So it can also lead to, it's usually really positive. Like, expansive energy is usually really positive, and it definitely is, but just be aware that it can lead to mental overstimulation and restlessness. It can be like overwhelm and too much, too much information. It can be emotional information as well, but being in Gemini, it's usually the head information. So a little bit of overwhelm, too much information, too many options that can maybe create confusion rather than clarity. So there's this deep urge, like this Gemini urge, to make sense of everything, questioning paths, seeking meaning, and desiring quick answers. So nothing wrong with that on the surface, but just be aware to not like overdo it. Notice yourself if you're doing that, if you're leaning into that. This is really a lesson in discernment. So knowing when to seek knowledge versus when to sit with uncertainty. So That's really the theme of this aspect. We also have the new moon trine Mars in Cancer. So this is really about like strength in sensitivity. So emotional drive and intuition is a big theme for this aspect. And it really supports like heart-centered decision making. There's also like assertiveness with sensitivity. So it encourages like emotional resilience and intentional action. So Mars in Cancer really prioritizes emotional security and recognizing that strength comes from responding rather than reacting. And that's really going to be highlighted during this time on a personal level. You then have Neptune's conjunction with the North Node, which is really a mystical recalibration. So the veil is very thin between two worlds, between worlds. And this really increases the intuition. So the veil between worlds, what I mean by that is the veil between the seen and the unseen. So that's much thinner at this time. So it does increase intuition, increases synchronicities and prophetic dreams. So really pay attention to those sorts of things. Like you may think that like angel numbers on the microwave is something crazy and silly, but just notice those things. And if you're really noticing them around, then just pause and lean in and see what the message is coming through for you. So time also feels very fluid, like reality shifts and the usual rules no longer apply, like the rules that we're bound by in this world, like time and gravity and things like that, time and space, don't feel like they apply. And I definitely can sense that. I mean, I think over the last few years, the time shift feels like crazy. It feels unnatural. But definitely this year as well, it just feels so crazy. Like it feels like we're just coming into March, but it feels like the 1st of January was a lifetime ago because so much has happened. It's also time to receive signs from the universe. So definitely pay attention to subtle messages, to dreams, and to your inner knowing. So release old narratives for sure. Like this is something that you want to do before we cross over into the spring equinox, because you just don't want to take this into this new cycle. So there's so many old beliefs and narratives that you're holding on to that just no longer serve you. So it's really time to just let go of those illusions and, embrace new perspectives. This new moon is a time for embracing the unknown with faith. So just surrendering to the Pisces fluid flow and release resistance and control. Definitely trust your intuitions. Your answers are going to come from within, and not external logic. If you try to rely on external logic during this time, prioritizing that over your intuition, this is going to cause you problems. It's going to be very uncomfortable for you and very confusing for you as well. So really be aware of that, leaning into your intuition first, and then you can filter it through your logic. Also, watch for signs. Messages and guidance really are everywhere for you, and they'll be very prevalent in the next couple of weeks. So let go of the past, very strong theme as well as we move into this new cycle, as we close off this Pisces season, the last sign of the zodiac. And so it's time to close cycles and make space for new beginnings, to make space for new spring growth. So the known is dissolving and the future remains unwritten, and we're really in that space of in between. So this new moon is an invitation to just step forward with courage, with grace, and trust the journey ahead. So let's have a look at what Bitcoin has in store for us during this period from the new moon into the full moon. Okay, so let's take a look at Bitcoin's price action, because Bitcoin really has been doing the most. And it's really scaring a lot of people, which is totally understandable. But we kind of want to zoom out and get a bigger perspective of where we are in the cycle, and to be able to sort of gain some perspective on our emotions and sort of where we are, where we're going, and where we're headed. So I want to start off on the monthly time frame and just have a quick look at where we're at. So we started off way back here in November 22. And we created our low. Now, obviously, at the time, we didn't know that that was the low. We needed to wait for some confirmation that we were turning around. So here we created, again, this is on the monthly time frame. We came up, and then we came down and printed this higher low. And then we straight away went through and broke through the 50 EMA and then came back to retest it. So that's sort of that reversal pattern and the confirmation of that reversal pattern. So really it shifted the market structure. It changed the character of the market and changed from a bearish trend to a bullish trend. Now, the distance between these candles is, before that confirmation, from the actual low to that confirmation, is about 7 months. So you kind of want to have confirmation a little bit earlier than that. So really, with the monthly time frame, I'm just using it to zoom out and see the structure of the cycle and see where we are in that market structure. And we're really looking for those confirmations of a turnaround, like much earlier than that. And we're looking for that on the lower time frames. So just bear that in mind when we're looking at this. So after we confirmed our, change of character in the market, we then had one move up. We went into a period of consolidation, and then we've had our second move up. So usually in one cycle, we will have a low, a higher low, and then we will have one move up. Then we'll have a period of either consolidation, of retracement, and then altogether we usually will get 3 moves, either to the upside or to the downside, depending on which trend we're in. And but we can also just get 2, especially if we're looking at the higher time frames. And we also can get an extension. We can get 4 as well. So just to keep that in mind. So that's where we're at the moment on the monthly. We're sort of in the second, we've had this second move up, and then we're going into a period of consolidation or retracement. So when we drop down to the weekly time frame, we can start to see things a little more clearly. We can definitely, so we again have our low and our higher low back here. And then we move up and we move into, you can see better this period of consolidation here on this time frame. And then we can see that we broke out of that trend and we went and had our move up. So now we've moved into this period of consolidation, or this one looks like it's a period of retracement actually. And so what I'm looking at here, I usually don't have the liquidation levels marked on the higher time frames, to be honest. I usually have these liquidation levels marked on the lower time frames. But with this one, there is some confluence with the 50 EMA. So that's why I do feel like we are going to come back and retest that at least. So we do want to see that holding that 50 EMA. So we want to check on that. How I mark up these levels, these liquidation levels, is I'm actually looking at the heat map on here. We're looking at high time frames. So this one is the 1 month heat map. And you can actually get access to this extension and mark up these levels yourself on your own trading view charts with the Trade by Design trading course suite. So you can find that at the bitcoinzodiac.com/education, and there you can click on there. You get access to this extension and another couple of indicators with either the Trade by Design or the Invest by Design courses. So as you can see, I've just marked up those areas. We do have some liquidity sitting above price, but then this is what we're looking at below price. Now, we may come back up and take that out and then come down and take that, but I don't think that that's the direction that we're going personally. There just seems to be more momentum to the downside. It's kind of closer, and there's a lot of liquidity sitting there. That's kind of what I see happening. And those liquidation levels are at about 79.5 down to about 76.5. So just keep an eye on those levels. And the reason that I'm bringing this up in this episode is really because I don't want people to freak out if we do go to those levels. I'm not saying that we will. I think it is pretty likely. The market makers are unlikely to leave that kind of money on the table. But just so that you have a bit of a context as to what's happening, and the Bitcoin isn't just in free fall. There are some levels that it's going to meet, and again, we've got that 50 EMA there. I would like to see us hold that. If we don't, then I'll be reassessing some things as well, but let's analyze that when we get there, remembering this is a weekly chart, so it looks closer than it actually is. Then we also have the 1-day chart, and this is the chart that I use to mark out all my astrology, because it just it works better on the 1-day chart. It just looks better. And these purple and gray stripes behind, they're not just cute, they're not just decoration, they are actually the moon cycle. So this is showing you from like new moon to full moon for each of these cycles, so you can observe that as well. And this is what we have here. So we've also again here had a high printed back here in January, and then we came down, we went back up and printed a lower high, and then we came down again, broke the 50 EMA and retested that. I mean, we just kind of consolidated along that 50 EMA, and then in a period of consolidation that just felt like forever, and then we broke out of that range just a couple of days ago. And, obviously we had that large move down. So I just wanted to show you that in context of that, and why I'm looking at those liquidation levels, and just not to be so freaked out. What I kind of expect to see happening, or I would like to see happen, is that we come down here as we'll go through the astrology. I'll show you more clearly. We come down, see these more negative astrological events like Chiron square Bitcoin's natal Chiron. So we come down and we take out that lower level of liquidity, and then we come back up and retest maybe the 50 EMA, and then we come back down and create a lower high, maybe around here, around that lunar eclipse, full moon, and Saturn Cazimi, and then we can make our way back up into that like fresh new move on the daily chart. So don't hold me to these days exactly, but this is just kind of like what I'm looking at. And obviously we need some more candles to print to really confirm either way, and to see if things are shifting and moving in a different direction. So but this is what I'm keeping an eye on for now. So hopefully that gave you a bit of context as to where we are in the cycle in terms of price action. And now I'm going to layer over the astrology on top of that, and then we can have a look back at price action and see where that astrology fits in. So I personally think that astrology, the more information, the more layers of information that you can have, the better. Like if you can have the astrological overview, you can understand the macro and where we are in the business cycle. You can understand the fundamentals of Bitcoin and, the secular cycle that it's creating. And then you can go down into the more tactical cycles and using technical analysis to understand where we are and where we're going in that perspective. I think when you combine all of that information, that's when you have the most powerful kind of trades or view of the market. So on the 28th of Feb, we have Jupiter sextile Bitcoin's natal Jupiter. So in financial astrology, Jupiter represents expansion, optimism, growth, and abundance. And so a sextile is a harmonious aspect that brings opportunities, ease, and favorable conditions. So when transiting Jupiter forms a sextile with Bitcoin's natal Jupiter, it really creates a positive growth cycle, often signaling a period of increased market confidence, speculative enthusiasm, and upward price momentum for Bitcoin. Now, ordinarily, I would say this is a phenomenal aspect. Like, it's super positive, and it is positive as well. However, knowing where we are in the cycle and expecting a bit of a move down to take out that liquidity, I do believe that the increased optimism and abundance and growth and expansion will be short-lived with this. And so again, if we flick back to the chart where I can show you, again, I think that that optimism will come in to give us this push up, you know, to give us that retracement back up, and then to be able to come down and create a higher low. And so I think that that's really what we're looking at. And so this comes as a warning. Like, it's great to have these positive aspects, but just recognize that it could be short-lived. And often what happens when we have these kind of moves that are slightly positive even is that people get so excited and they're just like, it's going to go up forever. But again, when we couple that with technical analysis, we can see that that may not be the case. I mean, it could be just a quick reversal out of there, but honestly, it doesn't have that characteristic to me. I think we would have moved a lot quicker into that and out of that if that's what was going to happen. What this means is that with this aspect is that we can expect increased investor optimism. So expect, a heightened interest in Bitcoin, with more institutional and retail investors drawn into the market and attention on Bitcoin. Like, we're back, the bull run's back, like, let's go. A lot of bullish momentum. People get really excited. And so we could see potential price growth as we're expecting. Maybe not like super dramatic surge, but Bitcoin could experience some bullish momentum, right? And a bit more volume coming into the space, and maybe some more favorable like institutional moves and things like that. Maybe some regulatory adoption, or Trump makes some announcement or something to give us that kind of positive momentum. But just be aware of the potential risks and considerations, because, it is quite speculative. And we can see some speculative FOMO. So Jupiter can definitely bring that. Sometimes encourages like excessive optimism, leading to like over leveraged positions and like unsustainable hype cycles. So we could also, as I said, we could also see some market corrections post growth. So don't think that it's just a straight up from here. We are going to come back. We want to see that confirmation of the higher low before we consider, us to be kind of in an upward movement again on the daily chart. And you'll see more confirmation of that on the lower time frames too. So we also have like external economic factors, so macroeconomic events can also like really influence Bitcoin's momentum despite like positive astrological conditions. So just be a little bit mindful of that. Don't get caught up in the hype. Stick to your program and stick to what you know to be true and what you're seeing and what you want to do. But it is lovely to have a nice, like, favorable window for Bitcoin. But while like no single aspect guarantees a price surge, this transit does support some growth and some optimism during that period. The next aspect we have is the Venus retrograde in Aries and Pisces. So This one is quite a volatile, can be quite a volatile one. So you're going to be navigating financial volatility. So Venus rules money, value, luxury, and financial markets. So it influences investor sentiment and overall market trends. So when Venus goes into retrograde, financial activity often slows. Market confidence wavers and unexpected price corrections can occur. So in Aries, which is fiery and impulsive, markets may experience really high volatility, impulsive decisions and speculative bubbles that can lead to like quite sharp price swings. And then when you combine that with the dreamy kind of illusionary qualities of Pisces, this can really be a period of market confusion, of illusions, of price manipulations, and some kind of like emotional trading dominating the more rational decision making. So since Venus also covers Bitcoin's like speculative appeal, a retrograde cycle can like create a bit more of a hesitation and maybe some price reversals, liquidity issues in crypto markets. Yeah, like as I said, this is kind of what I'm seeing so far with on the charts, but like the reality is we've only had 2 drop levels on the daily time frame, so we could see another one, but we will want to see some upward movement. We would expect to see some upward movement, a bit of a retracement on the lower time frames to be able to sort of position for that deeper downside. So let's see what happens. Let's see how that goes. Venus retrograde in Aries. As I said, expect some volatility. Like Aries is bold, aggressive, and risk-taking. So Bitcoin and altcoins could really see some rapid price swings. As people really react impulsively. So expect maybe during this time a speculative frenzy and some over leveraging. So yeah, just expect some FOMO driven buying sprees followed by some pretty brutal corrections. So margin trading may spike leading to liquidations, and yeah, that's one of the things that I kind of want to talk about that as well, about using leverage in the market, because if you're using very high leverage, you're really setting yourself up to be stopped out and to be liquidated. So the reality is, I think that a lot of people confuse leverage and all they see is 10x or whatever X, and that's to maximize their gains. When the reality actually is that that's not, it can also, maximize your losses by that multiplier as well. And so the reality is that leverage actually just allows you to have your capital in 2 places at once, to utilize your capital in 2 places at once. And this is kind of important in the crypto space as well, because we do have risks when it comes to exchanges. I mean, there are risks when it comes to your banks as well, but, we deal with these risks and we manage these risks and we're aware of them. And so, one of the larger crypto exchanges, Bybit, got hacked. I think it was the largest exchange hack in history, in crypto history. And so these risks do exist, even though I do believe that none of their customers were affected by this, but these risks do occur, and they are there. So realistically, how you want to use leverage is to minimize those kind of risks, those third-party custody risks. So for example, if you had a trading account, you were trading Bitcoin and you were using the Bitcoin as collateral, maybe your trading account is 1 Bitcoin for the sake of easy numbers. If you are only trading spot or very low leverage or 1x leverage, what have you, you have to have that 1 Bitcoin sitting on the exchange, and it is exposed to those counterparty risks of an exchange failure or an exchange hack, something like that. So you actually could use leverage instead. You could use, say, 10x leverage and just have 0.1 of a Bitcoin sitting on the exchange, but be able to trade as if you had a full Bitcoin on the exchange by using 10x leverage. And that way you can have that zero point 0.9 of a Bitcoin safely self-custodied. So that's really like how you would use leverage in crypto rather than like fully degenning like 100x gains and all of these kind of things. So that's kind of one of the ways that you can use leverage safely and not be over leveraged, is that you're actually minimizing your risk rather than increasing it. So you would use it for that purpose. Obviously, there are a lot of people that don't understand that or don't use it for that purpose and kind of do use it to overextend themselves. And that's when you really get into issues in crypto. I mean, if you have, if you're taking like 100x leverage trades, you're just positioning yourself so easy to get wicked out by a market maker. Like it's just you're making life way too easy for them. So protect yourself a little bit. Make sure you don't get over leveraged, especially during these retrograde periods. You also have this period. So conversely, you have people like overextending themselves, but you also have like this retail investor caution as well through this period, because Venus retrograde kind of dampens the enthusiasm. So retail investors may hesitate also before making large financial moves. So just avoid emotional trading as always. Stick to your discipline strategy. Stick to your rules. This is not the time to be like, well, it takes 2 out of the 4 boxes for me, so I'm going to enter that trade. It's like being really, really disciplined and really strict. This is the time for that. Be very cautious with leverage, as I said, as liquidations can really, trigger very easily. Like Bitcoin and crypto in general is just way too wicky to be using very, very high leverage. As I said, you're just setting yourself up to be liquidated. Also look for buying opportunities during these market dips. That's why I kind of wanted to show you where we were at in the market cycle, so that you don't have panic and fear. You can kind of see, hey, these are places for buying opportunities, and these are the rules that I want to have before I enter those, before I keep purchasing. Because even like these liquidation levels, they may come down and take them, but we also want to see how price is responding at those levels. It's not necessarily an automatic buy signal. We want to see how price is responding when we get there. If they're just like straight up bearish formations, candle formations, you're not going to buy on that. You want that confirmation that the market structure has shifted back to positive in this space before you take those trades. So this is the time for that. Follow your rules, be very disciplined, and keep yourself a bit safe. We also have like the potential during this period, Venus retrograde in Pisces, for scams and deception and false hopes. So just be aware, more in the rug pulls, obviously, more in the altcoins, of rug pulls, things like Ponzi schemes or misleading investment opportunities, because Venus in Pisces often kind of attracts that kind of like fraudulent activity. And, crypto is just the easiest place for people. I mean, the amount of meme coins that have been created is just absolutely insane. So Bitcoin price swings, like based on narratives, also can really happen during this time. People will be very swayed by hype, by rumors, by false optimism, or false uber negativity. And so that kind of can lead to unstable price action. So really, again, follow your own charts and follow your own rules and trade in that way, or invest in that way. And also just really watch for kind of whale activity, as large investors may manipulate prices during the cycle. They will manipulate prices during the cycle, especially if there's like low volume and things like that. It makes it very, very easy to manipulate. So, sometimes also staying out of a trade is the best thing. or just waiting for the dust to settle, waiting for that confirmation before you add to your long-term Bitcoin position. You could also expect false breakouts and trend reversals at this time. So Bitcoin may appear bullish, but then sort of fail to sustain that upward momentum. So we want to be looking for those confirmations on the lower time frames to confirm that that is going to push that momentum forward into the higher time frames as well. So Venus retrograde in Aries and Pisces can create a turbulent and emotionally charged financial environment, but expect short-term volatility, some hesitation, and some low volume, but also, be on the lookout for potential buying opportunities. So ride out the turbulence and just position yourself, in the best way possible for post-retrograde growth. And that's where we're sitting at this point in time. So the next aspect we have is on the 2nd of March, and we have Chiron square Bitcoin's natal Chiron. So we have this wounded healer energy of Chiron, and it represents deep-seated vulnerabilities, past wounds, and cycles of healing and crisis. But it also kind of represents this like strengthening through wounding and crisis. So when Chiron forms a square, which is a 90-degree angle to the natal Chiron of Bitcoin, it does trigger tensions, growing pains, and necessary corrections in the market. So for Bitcoin, this transit really does indicate a crisis of confidence, potentially, some market instability, and a need for restructuring. So it's a period where like past weaknesses in Bitcoin's adoption, regulation, or market structure are going to be tested. So the sort of key themes to watch for during this transit is really like market growing pains. So Bitcoin may face challenges related to trust, security, regulation, creating some price instability there. Also looking at past issues that may be resurfacing. So events similar to previous Bitcoin crises, like exchange failures and things like that, regulatory crackdowns, security concerns, those kind of things may, come up at this time. And we maybe will see like uncertainty or emotional reactions. So this period might trigger doubt and fear and some sell-offs, especially about people who are new to Bitcoin, within those investors that are kind of new to Bitcoin, or even people that were here last cycle and just have crazy PTSD, which is absolutely understandable. And they don't want to risk sort of sitting in their investments for another bear market. So we could see some sell-offs in that respect, and maybe some shocks to Bitcoin's narrative. So Bitcoin's role as a safe haven asset or store of value, this could be questioned or challenged during this time. So we also might see a resistance to growth, like Bitcoin may struggle to gain some bullish momentum, really facing some strong resistance and just difficulty maintaining the price surges. So again, when things are low volume, it does make the market sort of susceptible to manipulation. Bigger, players with market moving capital will exploit this kind of like uncertainty, low volume environment. So just be aware of that. So just things to watch out for during this is really increased FUD. So the fear, uncertainty, and doubt of negative media cycles. Also, just as I said, whale and institutional sell-offs and maybe security concerns. So you just want to be aware of that during this time. So maintain patience and discipline. This is a phase. It's not the end. And use caution when entering new positions or adding to new positions, but just remain open to post like transit recovery opportunities. So you want to position yourself for those too. And monitor fundamental shifts in Bitcoin's ecosystem. So how it weathers these storms will really determine this next growth phase as well. So while short-term volatility is, and challenges are likely. Bitcoin historically has emerged stronger from similar crises and similar transits. So this transit is just another chapter in Bitcoin's long-term evolution, in my opinion. So our next aspect is on the 7th of March, and we have Jupiter square Bitcoin's natal Pluto. So as we've spoken about Jupiter earlier, it represents expansion, optimism, and speculation, and also market growth, while Pluto governs power, control, transformation, death and rebirth and financial extremes. So when transiting Jupiter forms a square, a 90-degree angle to Bitcoin's natal Pluto, it creates intense financial pressure, speculative bubbles, and power struggles in the market. So this transit can lead to both massive price surges and very sharp corrections as greed, leverage, and institutional influence kind of clash with structural changes in the ecosystem, maybe governmental, regulatory, those kind of things. And so this aspect, more than any of the other aspects that I talk about this episode, we can expect some extreme volatility. So Bitcoin's price could, as I said, see the rapid and unpredictable fluctuations, swinging between euphoria and fear. Again, speculative frenzy and leverage risks. It's all this. I think what it is as well is that we're at this point in the market where everybody is so worn down that it's like kind of fuck it, like let's just go for it, and it's that mentality that really gets people unstuck, because it'll make you make stupid decisions. It will make you FOMO into things. It will make you over leverage and overexpose yourself. And then when you have a massive loss, it will sort of shake you and it will make you miss the opportunities that were there for you to get in at the appropriate time. So just be really, really careful with that, like battling that kind of mindset during this time. So we also could see regulatory clashes and institutional power moves. Who knows what is going to come out of Doge or Trump? It feels like there is a new announcement every other day, and it just feels very, very extreme. Like there are some things that I think are really good, are really smart, are really good for America, I guess, which is should be normal. But then there are other things that are just like way too harsh and way too extreme. And I do have this like underlying concern that he's going to kind of take this like throwing his weight around in the world a little too far and piss off people that he shouldn't. And that's kind of scary. Like, I don't really feel like Iran is like someone you want to mess with. I don't think. But let's see what happens. But yeah, just be on the lookout for those kind of like announcements and things like that. And sort of like clashes, like power struggles back and forth. There's also potential again for market manipulation. So just be aware of that. I think the real key for this aspect is keeping your overconfidence in check. So that's going to lead to losses in this space. But like Jupiter's influence really can cause you to overestimate, your own resilience, your own capabilities, and also like Bitcoin's resilience. And so, you don't want to be taking risky bets that are going to backfire. Like you want to, get that confirmation. Our next aspect is on the 8th of March, and the sun trines Mars. So the sun represents like vitality, confidence, and leadership, while Mars governs action, drive, and risk-taking. So when these two planets form a trine, which is a 120-degree angle in the sky, it creates this like harmonious and supportive energy, really fostering bold decision-making and high energy market activity. We'll see some more volume coming in and just a stronger sense of direction. And so this aspect fuels that optimism and decisive action in financial markets, often correlating with bullish trends, increased trading volume, and, strong upward momentum in assets like Bitcoin. And yeah, so again, the key themes during this transit, I think this is when we're going to see that move up before we come down to create that lower high to move out of there. So we just want to see, as I said, what the candles are doing when we reach those kind of levels, and then we can see what direction we expect to go from there. But this is what I'm seeing when I line it up with the astrology as well. So yeah, as I said, increased market confidence during this time, some decisive action and clear direction, high trading volume and momentum, and, just optimism in Bitcoin, in crypto, and in speculative assets. Like I expect to be hearing, oh, the bull run is back. It's not over. Quick, buy these coins, all of that kind of stuff that comes with that, with these kind of like up moves. So just be aware of that. That's going to be kind of like filtering into your psyche. So yeah, I'm expecting some bullish price action and also a breakout. So, we also could see some altcoin rallies as well. Like I rarely talk about altcoins on this channel, but this may be the time that you see some rallies from them too. Again, just be careful of overconfidence and over trading. We're not like out of the woods yet. So yeah, just be aware of that, okay? And yeah, so again, ride this bullish wave, but don't over leverage. Take profits strategically. And in case that momentum kind of fades and we look like we're going in a different direction, and really be strict about looking for those confirmations. Don't just jump into things because you kind of go, oh, I'm feeling the vibe, like let's go for it. No, it's like wait for those confirmations. Then we have on the 11th of March, Mercury conjoins Venus retrograde. So this is more of a macro element. And Mercury rules communication, trading, analysis, and short-term market trends. So again, I'm talking about all of the financial markets, not just Bitcoin specifically with this transit. And so we've got Venus, which governs money, value, and investor sentiment. And, during retrograde, it signals like a reassessment and uncertainty. And when Mercury conjoins Venus in retrograde, it triggers this period of like rethinking financial strategies, uncovering hidden value, and reassessing worth. So this aspect kind of suggests this like critical moment for the markets where traders, investors, and institutions reevaluate past decisions, adjust expectations, and shift sentiment. So often leading to some uncertainty, but long-term strategic opportunities. So that's what we're looking at. I can see that affecting gold. I can see that affecting the S&P, the NASDAQ, and of course, it will affect Bitcoin as well, but I think it's more about the traditional markets. And so, yeah, so look out for these kind of clues during this transit of like market reassessment, repricing of assets, delayed reactions to confusing market signals, and just like opportunities for hidden value. So in amongst those kind of like that confusion, you can actually find some really good hidden value. Also during this transit, you want to consider misinformation. So expect conflicting news and like hype cycles. So just double check everything before, basing your analysis on it. Because there is going to be some confusion at this time and confusing market signals. So analysts and experts may adjust their outlooks as well, leading to like shifting narratives and price unpredictability. And then on the 12th of March, we have a Saturn Cazimi in Pisces. So this is like a moment of clarity and structural shift in financial markets. And it's just before we come into the eclipses and the full moon. And so it's really kind of like setting up for that like local bottom. And so, yeah, we're looking at this moment of clarity and structural shift. So a Cazimi occurs when a planet is in an exact conjunction with the sun. So it's absorbing its full light and gaining a moment of pure insight, renewal, and intensified energy. So Saturn represents structure, regulation, discipline, and long-term stability. And so Pisces is this fluid, visionary, and sometimes like chaotic kind of sign. So it's linked to speculation, illusion, and hidden forces in the financial markets. And then we have Saturn in Cazimi, which means that moment of revelation regarding financial structures, market rules, and institutional strategies. So again, I think that this is more geared towards traditional markets. And again, like I just think over the past 10 years, we've really been questioning and challenging the structures that we have lived with. I mean, for my whole life, I've always lived in a fiat world, right? So I don't know any different, but we've really been questioning like whether these structures are serving us and, testing and challenging rules. And that's what Bitcoin is about. It's the great disruptor. So I think we will see some of that, at least in narrative and maybe in policy as well from some countries. So that'll be really interesting too. So this transit really marks a critical point for market stability, where rules are tested, weaknesses are revealed, and major financial players reassess their long-term strategies. So I expect those kind of things like, current structures to be questioned and tested, and long-term sort of strategies to shift more towards Bitcoin, which we've been seeing, that's the trend now. So expect during this transit some regulatory clarity, possibly a reality check for speculative assets, maybe facing scrutiny or restructuring or a shift in the narrative, institutional moves and long-term strategy adjustments, and also just a time for increased caution and market discipline. So it's like a shift from risk-taking to pragmatic investing with just a greater emphasis on fundamentals. So Saturn's energy as well may expose over-leveraged positions, potentially leading to liquidations and maybe market corrections. And while Pisces can bring confusion, a Saturn Cazimi suggests like a foundational shift that strengthens Bitcoin's role in the global financial markets. So this Cazimi and Pisces, Saturn Cazimi and Pisces can be like a moment of reckoning and long-term clarity, while uncertainty is the vibe of this transit, and it may dominate in the short term, but stronger foundations for Bitcoin and other assets will emerge from this period. So observe institutional movements, invest in fundamentally strong assets like Bitcoin, like avoiding purely speculative plays at this point, and be really patient and disciplined. Like Saturn rewards long-term thinking and over-impulsive moves. So this transit like really is a turning point where financial markets begin a new era of discipline, structure, and long-term vision. And that then brings us into the lunar eclipse in Virgo on the 13th of March, and we will discuss that when we get there. So just to kind of give an overview of linking those things together, like what I talked about with the charts together, as I said, like we can come down and test these areas. And when we have these, when we have this sort of more bearish sentiment, between kind of the 2nd and the 7th, I think we could come down and we could hit those liquidation levels. And then we start to sort of move back up. We have a bit more bullish sentiment. And, then maybe gradually trickle back down and to set ourselves up for the lunar eclipse and full moon in Virgo here, where I think that we'll create a local bottom and begin to move out of that. As I said, we want to see that confirmation on the lower time frames before you make any kind of decisions. Yeah, I hope that that provided you with some guidance and you got to see a little bit how I layer astrology on top of technical analysis to sort of give me a clearer picture of what's going on in the market. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to message me. And also, I am super excited to be speaking at the Bitcoin Island Conference on the 24th of May in Dublin. So if any of you are based in Dublin or are going to be in Dublin, please come by and say hi. I will put a link to purchase tickets and a discount code in the description box of this video. And I'd love to meet some of you. So do let me know and do come and say hi. And until then, I will see you soon. I will see you for eclipse season. Until then, peace, love, and Bitcoin.